Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Allison Gargaro at Fox 35 in Orlando. We are tracking the tropics for you. Things are very, very busy this week, and there's several areas that we're keeping a very close eye out for. So let's just show the scene. What is happening across the Atlantic? Well, you've probably heard about major Hurricane Fiona. It did bring devastating rain as well as winds to the island of Puerto Rico just a few days ago, and now it's moving toward the island of Bermuda. So I'll have more details on that. Then we're watching Tropical Storm Gaston. So this is now a tropical storm, and it's actually going to be curving back out to sea. Its track is very interesting, but it's maintaining strength right now, meaning not going to become a hurricane, still a tropical storm. And then there's 3 areas with the potential for further development. So it was really interesting. Somebody asked me, so I see these percentages on here, 30%, 60%, 90%. What does that mean? Well, they're tropical waves that have a 30, 60, or 90% chance of becoming a tropical depression and then potentially a named storm. So right now, the 30% is very, very low at this point. The tropical wave moving off the west coast of Africa has a 60% chance, but you can see it's moving off to the north, so not going to be impacting us here in the U.S. But this area with a 90% chance for further development could. And we're watching the models for you, always watching the models. Even Fox 35 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Jamie King came with me on his phone. He's like, Allison, did you see the latest GFS model? We are watching them always. So we're calling this Disturbance 1. Now, usually when we talk about a tropical system, you see that center of circulation that's starting to spin. Well, here it's really widespread and not looking too impressive at the moment. This is a satellite loop over the last hour or so. A lot of that rain, we're having the land interaction with South America. That's why it doesn't look too impressive right now. Within that 35-mile-per-hour winds, the hurricane hunters have been going into this system so that we can learn about what is going on, and then what does that mean for the future? Well, we love to look at the spaghetti plot models. There's a ton of models. Some have different strengths, different weaknesses, but we like to look at all of them to see where they are in agreement. And right now, the only place they're in agreement is in the Caribbean Sea. It's going to be moving over some very warm waters, and I'll actually show you just how warm coming up in a bit, but they're in agreement, meaning they're close together, they're clustered. So they are thinking that yes, this is going to strengthen as it does move into those more favorable conditions. But then you see, okay, the mouth of the Gulf of Mexico right here between the Yucatan Peninsula as well as Cuba. That's where things really start to spread. We have some models going well to the west, moving closer to the coast of Texas, and some well to the east, moving across the Florida Peninsula. So what is the timing on that? Well, likely going to be the middle to end of next week. Now, depending on the land interaction, it actually could be continuing into next weekend. But we have 2 global models. These are very common. The GFS is the American model. This is going to be the blue, green, teal, turquoise X on your screen, and then the yellow is the Euro. Now, they're neck and neck here, very close. So again, in agreement with each other that this system likely will be moving toward the mouth of the Gulf of Mexico. But you can see they're going to start to differentiate. The Euro is a little bit closer to Cuba, so a little bit further east, and then the GFS model actually moving over the Yucatan. That's land interaction. We talked about the system, how it looks now. It's interacting with land, not too good. So what could that mean? Okay, let's go through the timestamps. Wednesday, September 28th. So that would be next Wednesday. Then they're really starting to spread. Now, if they spread, the further they are, the more hundreds of miles they are, we are not in agreement on where this could be going. But let's first look at the Euro. So Thursday, a week from today, Euro actually has this moving on to the Florida Peninsula, where the GFS, it's slowed down because of that land interaction. So it's still in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So by the time Friday rolls around, the Euro already has this system back out into the Atlantic, actually crossing the United States. The GFS still here in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. And the GFS actually just had an update on the modeling, and you could see making its way up from the Yucatan and moving closer right to the border of Texas and Louisiana. So this is still several days out, but these are the latest model trends and we can't ignore them. So the GFS, like we've been seeing, pushing well off to the west there. That would be bringing, we always talk about, just a quick side note, we always talk about some of the strongest winds, the heaviest rain happening in the northeastern quadrant of the storm. So if you literally cut it in half here and cut it in half here, this area. So if this system were to be moving up here, we'd be seeing a ton of that rain into coastal Louisiana. Again, this is just the latest model run. We're watching it for you. But let's take a look at the latest model run for the European model. By Thursday, September 29th, just like we saw in that previous graphic at 6:30 in the morning, it is inching closer to the Big Bend of the Florida Peninsula. That is our viewing area. And again, let's cut this in half and in half again. That northeast quadrant would be bringing a lot of rain across central Florida. Like I've mentioned, this is just the latest model run, but there's actually a cold front that's going to be sweeping down from the southeast. So could that cold front actually grab this system and push it a little bit closer to us? That's definitely a possibility. So we are watching these models, always comparing exactly what they are seeing. And then by Saturday, October 1st, this system is well off to our north and we would actually be drying out. The system would be robbing our moisture and taking it and moving up. So that's something that we're watching with the European model. So you got to see both of those models, but we get to talk about the Fox model, which you'll only see here on Fox 35. So what does the Fox model think? Well, the center of circulation, well, we're not seeing that right now, but the disorganized showers and storms associated with Disturbance 1 right here. You can see a lot of that rain, just like we saw in the satellite imagery, happening over land, but it is likely going to be making its way into the warm waters of the Caribbean, starting to see some of that spin and rotation here as we head throughout your weekend, Saturday into Sunday, and looking a lot better organized. So the Fox model is something that we're watching. Not only do we get to see the rain, but also get to track the wind. Let's head on over to that. So the gustiest winds are going to be reds, browns, grays, and then purples. So let's see exactly what this is doing. Okay, gaining some more strength. You can see those winds really around that center of circulation, up to 56 mile per hour of wind gusts. So it is going to be gaining some of that strength. So it's really something that we watch and we depend on here being meteorologists. Now, forecast rainfall on our Fox model associated with that system skirting right on up, and you could see that northeastern quadrant dropping a lot of that heavy rain. That's the purples and whites, so up to 15 plus inches. Again, this is overland, but it's the warm waters. It's getting started. It's really starting to strengthen. And speaking of the warm waters, we are seeing them right now, not only across the Atlantic. This Hurricane Fiona looking at 85 miles per hour, degrees rather, and it's even warmer in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. So as soon as that system moves in, it's like a boiling pot of water. It's giving it a lot of energy to really start gaining that strength and gaining that speed. So these are the water temps. We are always watching that. And then this is wind shear. So if you've ever heard a meteorologist talk about wind shear, you're probably like, well, what exactly does that mean? Well, I just want to show you our legend here. Low wind shear definitely would help systems form. High wind shear, not good for those storms. And the Caribbean looking at low wind shear where we could be seeing that system develop. So we are watching that for you very, very closely. And I want to transition over to Fiona now. This is Category 4 Hurricane Fiona. Winds. We talked about the future winds in our Fox model with Disturbance 1. We're seeing that here with Hurricane Fiona. I mean, look at this center of circulation as it moves up toward the island of Bermuda. Now, it's a little hard to see, but this is Bermuda right between the numbers here. And we're looking at 115 mile per hour sustained winds, gusts even higher. And then the system will continue to move off to the north. So this is the latest track. National Hurricane Center does come down with these updates at 11 o'clock in the morning. Now Category 4, but likely going to be dropping into that Category 3 hurricane strength. And I say dropping, but it's still going to be a strong and still going to be a major hurricane by the time it does pass through the island of Bermuda and then moving up toward Canada as we head into this weekend. Now, for the folks in Bermuda, they are under hurricane warnings because you saw the forecast wind speeds. I mean, upwards of 115 miles per hour. So they need to be aware of that, as well as the very, very heavy rain. So we're watching that one closely. Now, speaking of us here in East Central Florida, no, Fiona's not moving toward us, but some of that swell is 45 to 50 foot seas associated with this storm. Those are going to be pushing back toward the east coast of not only Florida, but also the entire eastern seaboard. So here locally, we could be seeing 6 to 9 foot seas. So it is going to be very, very rough out there. And also looking at a high risk for rip currents. So it's not recommended to enter the surf. Even if you're a good swimmer, not a good idea. And not only today, but continuing through the weekend until Fiona gets very, very far away and likely actually makes its way on shore. So we're watching that very closely for you. And then Tropical Storm Gaston, I talked about, it's going to curve actually back out to sea. This little L means it's going to be low pressure, not decreasing in those wind speeds, as you can see, and likely becoming post-tropical at this point. And I want to take you back out to our map. The two other tropical waves, 30% and 60%. Well, we're going to be keeping a close eye out at them, but really this 90%er disturbance number 1 is what we are keeping all eyes on. So make sure you stick with us for more updates, not only on air, but right here on YouTube, even on social media. We just want to make sure everybody is fully aware of what's going on. We are 150% transparent on exactly what's going on in the models and what that could mean for us here locally. Again, this is still disturbance number 1, but could become Hermine. So make sure you stick with us, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. I'm meteorologist Allison Gargaro.